We often complain the schooling system is failing our kids and not teaching them a lot of things about life that we feel they need to know. So I believe the most logical answer to that is to now make an online program teaching all these things that all kids can have access to, making it easy for parents to do it themselves. I think this is a key example of how many problems we give to our government that we can fix ourselves. Giving the government our problem is what gives them even more relevance. I mean, in reality, what do we need our government for when they are not serving the people? It's only to keep the power structure running and their connections with other countries keep us safe and manage what is already working just fine, when in a connected world, there are many people now who are also connected to positions of power around the world. I mean, that is fairly obvious to see already how much outside influence is put on our so-called government. The old school system is outdated, we won't need it soon. We likely need more of an engineering and tech workforce for a new slave labor. AI is soon going to be the best answer to individual-based learning, where each student will have a personalized teacher to cater to their individual needs and ambitions. A memory-based education system is useless where technology has all the answers as soon as you need them. Especially for young men, their value as a man often comes from issues or problems they can fix. So from a young, let's teach them and train them to fix things and problems. And if things need to go extreme, a few teachers can pretty much teach thousands of people through the internet if the school system is failing people. COVID is a perfect example of that, as well as giving places like Africa a continent they could easily be educated by the best minds around the world if they had good internet and computer infrastructure given to them. I think issues among young boys and mental health, as well as knife crime, I don't think there is any quick solution. It's not like it's happened overnight. This has gradually gotten worse over the years, but I do think boxing needs to be introduced to young kids in primary school. At this age, they can't do any serious damage to each other. It will teach them you can get hit and you're not made of glass. It isn't the end of the world. Also, while kids are at this age, you need to manage, but be more relaxed about boys being physical with one another. The only way for kids to learn that violence isn't always needed to solve issues is for them to learn it as a kid growing up. As for knife crime, the issue is young boys and men are stuck in the frame of mind of I would rather have it than not have it if someone else does. Until we can stop them from carrying it and situations can just be ended in fighting, the only answer is sentences that make it a major deterrent for carrying them in the first place. Or, I do have a strange solution to this, but it is something that hasn't been done before. I find it strange how Russia has managed to build itself back into a superpower, and China is quickly becoming the leader in many industries and is a new superpower. The West would rather see them as an enemy than respect what they have done in the last few decades and learned from countries like China, who have raised their GDP by thousands of percent in the last few decades. When you look at countries like England, for example, who are exporting a lot less and holding not much of true value, our government is just using our own tax money to control the people who are most valuable to this country. This has led to fewer and fewer people having faith in the royal family. Governments are just puppets for big business and secret groups' benefits. Many different groups hate each other for stupid reasons because the government has lost control of the people. Yet, the government and the West in general are pushing towards going to war with countries like China and Russia. We are more likely to have a war within our country first if we ain't careful. China has a hold in a lot of African countries. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Only time will tell, but it looks like China is doing way more in that region than what the West has ever done for Africa. Is it too little too late for the West and African relations? I hope not, because unfortunately, the everyday minds of England are too stupid to realize Africa doesn't need our paper. We need their resources. They need our true help, and as I said previously, that relationship has been abused by almost every country in the world. And we all know what happens when a country is pushed for its survival. This is where Africa's loyalty should go, towards who is generally going to help them progress. Not give them charity, but help them become a competing nation in the world. I have mentioned earlier on about different groups and secret societies doing different things to push their agendas. Now, I can't be 100% sure in everything, but it would seem from my life experience anyway, there is either one society playing problem solution, or there is some kind of battle between them, trying to win over the minds of different people using various things I mentioned at the start of this video. Now, I used to wonder, why were they targeting me? But unfortunately for me, this seems to go as far back as my childhood, which I have theories on. But the parts I'll keep to myself, but for the most part it seems obvious that sometimes you're born into something you have no idea about, and is far greater than just yourself. I have way more that could be in this video, but for now, I am keeping a lot of things to myself and secrets for people that maybe I shouldn't, but only time will tell. It is also clear to see mind influencing technology is being used. Simply put, is mentalists, illusionists, and technology all being used, and a long time ago people using certain programs. Certain trigger words have been written into the mental health curriculum, so staff working within the mental health industry won't even know it themselves. This will result in it looking like the staff themselves are gaslighting them, although some staff may be part of the handling team, which is there to control a lot of people with influence or power who can't be bought or trusted with the agendas in place in the world. I think most people are good people, but bad company or bad influences can easily lead a good person down a bad path. Especially in times of struggle, sometimes good people are forced to do bad things just to get by, and it can soon lead to other things. But I also have hope that enough good people can influence people on a bad path into a better one. Over the last few decades, the production of goods and farming has become way more productive and less labor-intensive, but it does not reflect that in prices for the end consumers who have suffered from fewer jobs. The only reason for this would be the pricing of energy and raw materials, which once again is coming from the top end of society, where the rich are getting richer and directly affecting the end users. Unfortunately, it seems these mind control programs have been going on by certain groups for quite a while, and their main focus has been Hollywood. So I would assume a certain island has been a prime target for these programs to be introduced. So I would guess this is most likely the reason why a certain list has been classified, as many of these people would have been unaware of what was happening. This is going to put the world in a complicated position, as it's very clear a certain group has been making a power move on this industry going back decades. And it's going to leave a gap where we are not going to know who is guilty of certain things or who has been made to do things against their will. Not to mention, by keeping this list classified now as a form of power, names can always be added to this list as another form of control. The main reason I'm doing this is because I just want to get on with my life now. And it seems you can't do anything successful now without being accused of selling your soul. And I don't need to tell my story. You can pretty much read between the lines and get an idea of what's gone on in my life. I don't like the world we live in, but the world doesn't want to change, so I have no choice but to play the world how it is. You are either changed by the world or you change the world. I know what I would rather do, but it isn't something anyone can do by their self. We often forget God would be all of our creators. So what is a fair situation to both of you if you are both in the wrong? My mind is stuck between what the world could be like and what the world is currently. Many of the things I talk about or ideas I have are not always suitable for the current state of the world or the current people living here. Most of us have past trauma, habits and mindsets that are hard to change as an adult. But a lot of my ideas are for future generations. I think all of us as parents at some point reach an age where we realize how short life is and how much better the world could be, but most of us live by the mindset that you can't change the world. But these lines are just more ways of the way words can control your mind, because many people know the world is always changing and they will do anything to make it change in a way that favors them and their ideas.